Hey everyone, and welcome back to another round of My Patriot Report Live. I am the bridge connecting the next generation to federal contracting. I am Ritwan Hill, and with me I have the individual who is responsible for helping move the service disabled veteran-owned small business contracting needle from 750 million to well north of 19 billion. The first service disabled veteran-owned small business national spokesperson and the individual who is responsible for co-authoring what we all know as the SBA All Small Business Mentor Protege Program, Mr. Walter Cotton III. Mr. Cotton, how's it going, man? How was the weekend?
The weekend was fantastic. I actually was able to cap it off with an amazing experience. There's this young African violinist. I've been watching him on YouTube since time immemorial, and bruh be getting down.
Mhm.
Well, I actually got a chance to go to his concert at the City Winery last night. It's his 10-year anniversary, and I got to hear the story about how he would play at this bar that this husband and wife would let him play at.
Mhm.
And he said that they had like several events where it was just him playing his violin to the husband and wife, and they would invite him back. And over time, one thing led to another. And he talked about how when he put his first post up, he got like 5 views after 3 months, right? And he talked about his journey and how today he's got 1 billion views on TikTok, and the audience erupted into a roar. And he said, and that's the smallest number. I got 2 billion on YouTube. And so to see vision manifest, huh? To see
Let's talk
vision
about it.
manifest,
Yeah.
huh? It was just exciting because I'm one of those people that encourages my clients and the people that I talk to understand that what you think about, you bring about.
Mhm.
So I had a great weekend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a good segue to what we got going on to what you said. What we think about is what we bring about. And right now, I know it's probably on a lot of most everyday everybody's mind is what's going on with the conflict with Iran. Whether that's a good thought or bad thought, I know people are pretty much split when it comes to that. You said something
Well, well,
powerful.
well, well, well. First of all, you got to use the right languaging, right? And so, you called it a conflict, right? We have to call it what it is, right? It is not a conflict. It is a war, right? We
Mhm.
have unintentionally been induced into what is a war. And so we started this effort out to try to avert this, right? The
Mhm.
Patriot Report, the War or Peace Report. And so
Yep.
we now need to change the title of the broadcast, right? Because it's no longer the War or Peace Report, right? We are in and at war.
Mhm. Yes, sir. And that's what I was going to actually. That's what I was actually going to say. So, what does that actually mean for the everyday Americans that that now we could look at this as like an official war? This is not a conflict.
I mean, I used to listen to a guy back in the day. His name was Paul Harvey. He used to always open his and close his reports with good day. And let's talk about the rest of the story. And so, for every red blooded patriotic American, wake up. We are at war. And this is not a time to be passive and hope the media brings us the right information. It's not a time for us to be passive and hope Congress does the right thing, because we've already seen that we have a feckless Congress, right, that will not rein in the executive branch. So for every American, right, don't wait until the bombs start blasting on your block to get out there and do something. We need to do something right now because we are at war, and there is a resilient people that are mad at us. They're pissed at us, right? Because we did something. And don't get this twisted, right? I'm all American, right? We are at war now. And now that we're at war, we have to win this conflict because America does not like to lose. But the average American needs to recognize that the environment has changed. Things have gotten a lot more risky, and we need to do something, say something, engage now.
Mm-hmm. And this brings me to where we were talking about the first branch of government, right? So that meaning the people themselves. So why is it so important right now for the people to say something?
Well, if you really look at the construct of, what our forefathers did when they put together this constitutional republic that we operate within, they utilized the Constitution to create articles that established branches of government, right? So Article 1 they use to establish the congressional branch, right, of government. And that was the first branch established because it was designed to control the executive branch, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the event that the executive branch got out of control, right? Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the powers necessary to rein that branch in, right? The power of the purse and the like. But when you have a feckless Congress that refuses to exercise their authority, our forefathers slipped in a solution, and it's called the first branch of government, right? In the preamble to the Constitution, it starts by saying, we the people, because we are the ones that give all the other branches of government the powers that they enjoy, and we have the ability to change and control it. And right now, our first branch of government, right, at least the one that's established by the articles, is not holding its position. It is not holding the executive branch accountable for moving us into a less safe position, moving us into an economically more challenged position. And I, for one, am not going to follow the popular media, right? Because I'm over 10 and I don't believe everything that I hear on CNN. I know that a feeling is not the kind of justification that we need for making decisions that start wars.
Mm-hmm.
I know that a feeling is not the kind of stuff that we need to determine the resolution to war. War is a serious matter, right? And if you've never experienced war, if you've never experienced the real ravages of war, it's not a fucking video game. It is real. There are people bleeding out and dying right now, and there are Americans that are bleeding out and dying right now for this decision. And so I don't want to sit back and spend a lot of time and energy on the decision, right? History will address that, right? What we need to do right now is we need to deal with the solutions, right? What are the solutions we need right now? Right now, we need solutions that make sure that him and her who bore the battle or who is bearing the battle has maximum lethality, right? The maximum ability to execute the campaign. We need to do that. And once we get that thing in place, then we need to turn our attention to the Congress. We need to turn our attention to the executive branch, and we need to pull those people and get them right in order. But right now, our average American needs to wake up and recognize we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto.
Yes, sir. Before we talk about the solutions and exactly how we get the veterans positioned best first, could you just elaborate on how serious the Strait of Hormuz is and the bottleneck that's happening with that? Can you explain a little bit just how serious that is in regards to just a global economic impact just in general?
Yes, I can, and I can explain it with well, I wish I had a species right now that we call the dollar, right? It is the global petrocurrency right now, right? And that is what's at risk, right? The US's hegemony, right, over the petro environment is at risk. That's the bottom line. And so if they close the Strait of Hormuz, which they have the power and authority to do, right, what they're going to do, you don't have to be a systems thinker to figure this one out, right? They're going to strangle the Saudis. They're going to strangle the global oil supply. And that's going to change the game. Everybody that was our friend yesterday, right, in the winter and the cold and hunger, right, becomes maybe a potential enemy. And so what we're dealing with right now is a change that will irreversibly change the US's position on a global stage. And we cannot afford, as a nation, we cannot afford to allow that to happen. And if you think that that's not a possibility, just look at how our allies, right, the people that were our friends yesterday in NATO, right, and some of these other global organizations are looking at us with the more jaundiced eye today because they don't like the way we're behaving on a global stage. And so we, the people of these United States of America, need to wake up and make sure the world hears our voice. The world needs to know what we, the people, want to happen, what we want them to understand about how we feel about what our executive branch is currently doing.
Indeed. Now we're focused on solutions, and you have the solution zone that you plan on releasing soon. When we're looking at the solutions, and you say that getting our veteran population pretty much locked and loaded so they can address this, what are the immediate steps for the veteran population and veteran community? What do we need to do?
Well, before we switch into solution mode, right? I think that we have to identify the tribe, and the tribe are people that have a common belief, right? And so we have to have agreement that there is a common shared problem, right? And this isn't partisan, right? This isn't Democrat versus Republican, right? This isn't left versus right, right? This is what's in the best interest of these United States of America, right? This isn't partisan, right? This isn't political. This is right versus wrong. This is utilitarian versus selfishness, right? This is what's in the best interest of the people versus what's in the best interest of the oligarch. Okay, let's make sure that we agree on that. And from my definition, anything that creates an environment that produces an opportunity for me or someone that's in my nation to be killed, to be harmed, while just going through the ordinary process of life, right? Like I was talking to you earlier about this concert that I went to on Sunday. Quite candidly, I literally had the thought, because I live in New York City, right? This is one of the major soft targets, right, that the adversary would be looking at. I literally had the thought of, like, what is going to happen if there is like an event, right, in Manhattan, right? How am I going to get back out to Long Island where I live? I shouldn't be thinking about that going to a concert, right? Why am I having those thoughts? I'm having those thoughts because I'm a true patriot. I'm a former serviceman, and I know that the 7 P's, right? Proper planning prevents poor performance, right? So I'm already on alert. I need to get the rest of our citizen soldiers on alert that say, hey, wait a second. Now we need to, first of all, see something, say something, right? We need to start insulating and hardening our environment, right? And then we need to start looking at these suckers right? We need to look at these jokers that call themselves politicians, that call them that fought, right, to get into those career positions of congressman or senator, and we need to hold them accountable, right? No more baiting and switching, right? We need your yes to be your yes and your no to be your no, because right now people are dying in our name. Life is being extinguished in our name. I got a problem with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So with that being said, with so do you believe that it's going to start initially first with the veterans? Like the veterans got to be the first ones to pretty much take charge and see something, say something.
No, I think it's going to start with the Patriots, right? Because unfortunately, some of our veterans may already be too ate up, right? May be too conditioned to know that they have rights that they can employ in this situation, right? And so I think it's going to start with the two true patriots that realize that, we the people have these rights and authority, and collecting together in the square en masse is what's necessary to send the signals to the people that we want to reach. And unfortunately, the people that we want to reach right now are not the people that are sitting in our halls of Congress, right? They're not the people that are sitting in our legislative branch, right? They're not the people that are sitting in the administration's appointed position. The people that we're trying to reach are the adversaries that these individuals have us attacking, right? We need to reach these people, and we need to let them know what we Americans think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is, man, it's a hard line. It's a controversial position, right? We's at war, right? You're supposed to support the common line, and I do, right? The common line that I support is that we win, right? If we're in it to win it, right? So I'm for my men and women that are out there in harm's way and that are being put in harm's way. But what I equally support is a reconciliation. I equally support an accountability, right? And so I'm saying that I don't have a problem utilizing the full weight and financing of the American people to defend our way of life. But I have a problem with us using it to bully other countries. I have a problem with us using our power indiscriminately, because those chickens come home to roost. And so I right now want us to do two things. One, I want us to execute and end this war. That's what it is, right? As quickly as we possibly can, and get back to a calmer planet where we recognize that it's all about collaboration, right? It's not about survival of the fittest, right? It's about cooperation, right? We have an interdependent system of systems, blah, 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 right? And then I want to go back and look at our political system, right? I want to look at the people that we have in those offices, and I want to identify, whether or not we need to change something. And the something that we need to change ain't the Constitution.
Absolutely. Now, when you spoke about the civil servants and that they actually have a responsibility and role, and you often mentioned in the past about 42 USC 1986, and essentially the civil servants and military members, they have a right to refuse unlawful orders. And the time we're in now, it just seems like, well, not it just seems like it is a whole bunch of unlawful things that are happening. It's a bunch of unlawful things that are happening. And it goes back to the we the people and understanding that they actually have the rights and we have the power, but they don't. I guess the question is, how do we wait? Like, what can we do voicing our voice, giving voice to what's going on? How can we help these individuals come to their own understanding, self-understanding that, we have the power and that we all need to do something within our powers in order to effectively move things to the position we would like it to be in.
Yeah, well, our job is to sow, right? We're the sowers, right? We've got this bag of very, robust and fertile seed, and we're sowing these seeds. And some of this seed is going to land on rocky ground and get burned up by the sun, but some of it's going to land on fertile ground. And so that's what we do. We just sow the message so that, him who has ears hear. And again, we just need the number, and we change the balance of power. At the end of the day, what we have is a situation where the masses have been hypnotized, they've been seduced, they've been pushed into a place of fear, and so all we're looking for is our tribe.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And with that, and when you say that, and what popped in my mind was, okay, jobs, right? Job security. They're probably more feared or more worried about if they do something like that, how does it affect their job? How does it affect, what take care of their family? They're bringing the bacon home. But the truth of the matter is that with what's going on, that and with AI, that may be an irrelevant thing to worry about anyways, because AI could be already there behind you, that close to taking your job. I mean, it's a real threat.
It's a very real threat, and the thing that you want to do today, right? If you're a true patriot within the sound of my voice, you want to study yourself approved, right? Because these people have a vested interest in you believing what they think, not the truth, you believing what they think, right? And this is a season where you need to make up your own mind, because if you don't, you're going to be out there pulling contracts for the man. In this particular season and time that we're in right now, we have the power, man. I don't know how many different ways I can say that to emphasize that fact. We have the power. I, for one, am not going to cower behind a political group that is just status quo.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably not giving the logical progression to this message that I want, because I'm emotional. I mean, I'm truly emotional, because what I see about to happen as a strategist scares the bejesus out of me. Right? There is no clean exit strategy. Right? We've seen this before, right? We went into Iraq, right, with a plan and wound up running out of Afghanistan for our life, right? We've seen this movie before, right? That we're talking about a resilient people. And answer me this question: why did we start this fight? Why did this president do what no president in history would have dared do? Why did this president disturb the Strait of Hormuz, which is a hard problem that they give to junior, right, energy analysts, right? Like what if they close the Strait of Hormuz, right? How are we going to redistribute the oil supply around the world? They give that to junior analysts who are, going into the energy industry, because they know that it's a hard problem with a Hobson's choice. And the Hobson's choice is no real choice. And so why I need to understand, when we had no immediate threat in our backyard, why did we preemptively do what no other president in the history of these United States would have ever done? That question needs to be answered. History will ultimately answer that question. right? I have my opinion on it. But at this particular point, we need to rebalance things, right? We need to rebalance the security. We need to rebalance the economic order. We need to rebalance things on a global level. And we can't leave it up to people who have proven an inability to make good, rational decisions, right? And I'm sorry, I don't think that what we're doing, or the way we're doing the immigration crackdown and utilizing ICE, is prudent, right? And I could go on in terms of, I don't think that, bullying, our friends on a global level with tariffs is prudent, right? I don't think that centralizing and consolidating our acquisition under the federal government's contracting agent in this season, at this time, with the disruption that's occurring from AI, I don't think that it's prudent, right? And I could go on. There are several things that I, as a patriot, don't think are prudent. But instead of sitting on the sideline, right, waiting for MSNBC or CNN or somebody else to resolve it for me, I'm doing something. And I'm encouraging every patriot that's within the sound of my voice to get out of the mustard so we can catch up. Because if we don't, right, it's just a matter of time before the improvised explosive that didn't blow up in the crowd outside of Mayor Mondani's house, or the ill-fated attack on the synagogue in Michigan, becomes a fated attack where they realized that, well, listen, if he had gone to Home Depot instead of the fireworks store, right, he could have gotten, I'm not going to talk about bomb building materials. The point that I'm making is that it's just a matter of time before someone that gets personally affected by this action. And I'm encouraging every patriot that's within the sound of my voice to wake up today and get out of the mustard so we can catch up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And if this information has been valuable for you guys, please hit that like button, subscribe button, share, follow, repost, all that good stuff. You said this is the saying now, America wants its veterans to be rich, wealthy, and all the evidence is out there. Now we've been saying this for more than a year. We've been so far ahead of the game. We're not here to tell you we told you so, but everything that we have said has proven to be a fact. With the time we in now, is this going to present even more opportunities for veterans?
It produces more opportunities for veterans on the industry level, right? Because every possible industry is at full production right now to support the war fighters out there in the field. And so there are going to be huge opportunities across the board for veterans, right? In munitions, in just about every industry. So yes is the answer to the question.
Yes, sir. Last thing. So what is the first immediate step that, if you had to leave the true patriots, the veterans, anybody who's listening, the next immediate step, what should they be doing? The next immediate step so we can be effective into moving this into the next phase.
I don't think that there's one step.
Okay.
Right. I don't think that there's one step. If there was a collective action, get involved. Right. That's what I would say. Get involved. Right. Everybody can do something. Right. Start educating yourself. Make yourself aware. Right. Understand exactly, what these actions mean. Right. When a senator can come out of a meeting, right, in Florida, right, where they're talking about the future of what's happening, and gas prices are going through the roof, and they can say, well, it's my opinion that gas prices are going to come down, with the kind of evidence that we're looking at. right? We get involved. Get involved.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And on that note, guys, I'm Ratwan Hill, and that is the Mr. Walter Cotton III. Get involved.